Hello students, welcome to BTech 360. Every college says 100% placement. Every website also shows the highest package. But no one tells you the most important truth. Placements don't happen college-wise. They happen branch-wise. Two students can sit in the same campus, attend the same convocation, and yet walk out with different career outcomes. Simply because they choose different branches in the same college. That's why choosing a college without understanding branch-wise placements data is one of the biggest mistakes that students make. In this series, we'll go beyond hype and headlines. No cherry-pick salaries, no inflated averages, no marketing language. Because the right question is not whether this college is good or not. The right question should be, is this branch in this college good for me or not? So in a continuous series now, what we'll do is talk about civil engineering. What are the career prospects that you have for civil engineering? What kind of placement is happen through civil engineering? What kind of salaries that you can expect? What kind of companies come for placement? So we'll discuss all those things. And as I said, we'll keep discussing this branch-wise for the simple reason that it is not just a college that you choose. You also choose the branch which has higher prospect for placement, which is where we are talking of civil engineering at this point in time. We'll talk of branch-wise placement report across the board. And before I move any further, subscribe to BTech 360 if you've not already done that. This is the most important thing only for you. We're doing it only for you. We are asking you to subscribe because it will help you, make those choices between, branches, colleges, and those kind of things. And the data that I'm going to present here is not in public domain. It is something that we filed exclusively, and it is BTech 360 exclusive, where we are talking about RTI filings that have happened across all IITs, across all NITs, across all IIITs, and we collected and collated data, which is what you're going to see here. So subscribe to BTech 360 if you've not already done that. Right. Now, what is the data that we have at this point in time? For civil engineering branch, we actually had data from 10 IITs and 9 IITs. In all, 19 institutions is what we have data from, which is what we're going to present here. Now that's a good number because remember IIITs don't give civil at all, and not all IITs and NITs also possibly give civil engineering. So what we have is 19 institutions, which is a decent data for us to arrive at some kind of a conclusion in terms of the prospect of civil engineering. When we look at that data, by the way, how does an RTI response work for us? I'm showing you what we got from NIT Roorkela, for example. Now here, if you notice very carefully, we ask for the maximum salary. The maximum salary is 31 lakh rupees. We talk of average salary, which is 10.15 lakh rupees. We talk of the number of students who participate for placement. 85 students participated for placement. We talk of how many students accepted the offer if they got an offer, which is 56 students. So out of 85 students who participated for placement, 56 students got placed. Now the important thing that you must look at is, we also ask how many students did not sit for placement. That is 18 students is what they claim. Now we've noticed that as the jobs come down or the good attractive offers come down, the number of students who are opting out of placements also increases. So the higher the students who opt out, it means the lower the prospect of the branch is what we realize over a period of time, because that's what data suggests, right? So this way we collected for all the 15 institutions that we showed earlier, and we'll talk of institution-wise how the placement has happened. For the first one is IIT Bhubaneswar. 44 students sat for placement, 39 were placed, which is 80.64% placement. IIT Kanpur, 101 students sat for placement, 77 were placed, 76.24% placement. Palakkad, 18 students sat for placement, 17 were placed, placement percentage is 94.44%. Ropar, 26 students sat for placement, 15 were placed, 57.69% placement. IIT Gandhinagar, 20 students sat for placement, 15 were placed, 75% placement. Jammu, 28 students sat for placement, 23 were placed, 82% placement. And Jodhpur, 21 students sat for placement, 12 were placed, 57.14% placement. But if I were you, I'll also carefully look at what are the total students who were admitted in each of the campus, and then start looking at the kind of placement percentage from the number of students who got admitted into the college, right? When we look at that, in Bhubaneswar, 62 students were registered, were admitted only, and 39 were placed, which means 62.9% placement. That way, if you look at it, all this placement percentage is about 28%, 39%, 46%. Very few are more than 50%. So very clearly, in the case of civil engineering, a lot of students were opting out of placement because possibly there is no offers, and that's why you see this. And I'll show you as a proof of the pudding much later when I compare it with another branch, which is computer sciences, of how civil is performing as compared to computer sciences. Now moving further, other institutions that we have data from, 61 students here, sat for placement, 43 were placed, and the placement percentage, there is some kind of a number, because there is lateral recruitment that also happens here. NIT Meghalaya, 22 students sat for placement, 8 were placed, so that is a very tragic number. 36% placement. Right, Roorkela 85 students had for placement, 56 were placed, 65% placement. Dhanbad 44 students had for placement, 28 were placed, 63% placement. Roorkee 129 students had for placement, 84 were placed, 65% placement. Hamirpur 71 students had for placement, 59 were placed, 83.1%. And Surathkal 93 students had for placement, 69 were placed, 74% placement. If you look at the average salary also, in Durgapur it's 8.2, in Meghalaya it's 5.48 lakh. Which is pretty low. Roorkela 10.15 lakh, Dhanbad 14.73, Hamirpur 8.29. So, and Surathkal is 11.91. Right. Moving further, the other, because we actually had about 19, if I remember correctly. Puducherry 22 students had for placement, 13 were placed, and 59% placement. Jaipur 67 students had for placement, 46 were placed, 68%. Now, if you carefully look at this, MNIT Jaipur, you had 115 students, which is the actual intake, of which 46 were placed. That's how I want to read numbers. But here, the number of students who sat for placement is only 67. What happened between the gap, which is about 33 plus 15, 48 students? 48 students did not even sit for placement or opt for placement. That is the tragedy that we're talking about here. That when the jobs are lesser, people don't even sit for placement. That seems to be happening here. Calicut, 100 students sat for placement, 75 were placed, 75% placement. But again, Calicut also, if you look at it, the approved intake was 172. So that way, if you compare it, the percentage is very, very dramatically falling here. That way, you have it for Nagpur, 87 students sat for placement, 63 were placed, 72.41% placement. Tirupati, 37 students were admitted, 10 sat for placement, 27 did not even sit for placement, and 10 were placed and they claim 100%. But when you look at it from the intake side, the placement percentage actually is 27% only. And why does this happen? You look at the average salary, 7.68 lakh. When the salary is low, people don't even sit for placement because there are no good offers out there. Similarly, if you see, Jaipur 8.82 lakhs is the average salary, Calicut 7.83 lakhs is the average salary, VNIT Nagpur is 8.58 lakh. When you compare it overall with the best branch and look at the overall number here, you will understand what exactly happened. We had data from 19 institutions, of which the actual intake is 1,467 students who got admitted into civil engineering across these 19 institutions. But the students who registered for placement is 1,049 only. So 1/3 dropout is there, right? About 1/3 students, 30% students dropped out of placement process completely. Of this 1,049, 752 students got placed, right? So when you compare it with the students who sat for placement, it is 72%. But when you compare it with the students who admitted, it is only 51.26%. So from the 1,467, 752, 51.26% placement. When you look at the average CTC also, you actually very clearly see that for CS branch, 20.35 lakh is the average salary. For civil engineering, it's 10.38 lakh. For CS branch, 81% is the actual placement from the admitted students. In the case of civil engineering, it's only 51%. So very clearly, it is going down in terms of the placement prospects, which is what I want you to understand. Because the call at times you need to take is whether you want to do civil engineering in a better IIT or a computer science engineering or any other. If your placement outcome is what you're looking for. This is only for those people who are looking for placement outcome. If you're very interested in civil engineering, please go ahead, do it, because that's what you want to do, that's what you're interested in. But if you're not, if you're looking at placement outcome as the end outcome, end objective and end goal, then you must be very careful. Maybe it's far better that you use the same rank to get into a lower rank possibly, but a branch which gets you a placement as compared to a better ranked institution, but the placement prospect for the branch are very, very less. I hope it helps you. If you want me to cover any other branch, please write to me here and I'll be more than happy to deal with that. But very importantly, look at BTech 360, subscribe to it now, because we're going to help you decide the best college, best branch, best course for yourself. Thank you so much. Namaste.